All right, good morning once again. I think it has been expected that people are looking forward to network so much that it's not so easy to get everyone back into this room. But thank you for coming, and I see people coming back, so I think we can slowly start the second part of today. And in the first part, we have been speaking rather more about the diagnosis. How does the Baltic markets look like, one by one and all together, and compared one to another. But in this part, we would like to focus a little bit more to speak about each and every country. How do we see their strengths? How do we cooperate? And not only in the Baltics, but also in the Nordics. However, to kick off the second part of our day, I would like to start with a keynote speech that's going to be delivered by the Deputy State Secretary for Economic Affairs at Ministry of Economics of Republic of Latvia, Edgars Šadris. So without further ado, Mr. Šadris, I welcome you on the stage.
Well, let me begin by expressing the warmest regards from our minister, who very much wanted to be here today. But unfortunately, since this coincided with the vote on the new government in the parliament today, he couldn't attend. So on behalf of Ministry of Economics, well, thank you for the opportunity to continue this discussion on innovation, on investment attraction and regional cooperation in the Baltic region. Latvian innovation and investment potential is built on highly skilled talent, strong ICT sector, and rapidly developing startup ecosystem. The key competitive advantage is agility, the ability to test, adapt, and scale solutions quickly in a relatively small but still high quality market environment. With increasing links between science and industry commercialization, Latvia is strengthening in positions in many sectors, in defense and dual use, in cybersecurity, AI, quantum technologies, advanced materials, and also energy innovation. Persistent challenge, of course, remains scaling innovation into international markets and attracting later stage growth capital, which requires, among other things, stronger regional and EU-level cooperation. Our investment policy is focused on creating predictable, transparent, and business-friendly regulatory environment, and a strong support for long-term investment decisions. Latvia is actively investing in digital infrastructure and in public administration solutions that focus on data-driven decision-making and fully digital solutions for businesses. The guiding principle of the public administration reform is only once data submission, reducing burdens, and improving efficiency for business. Reduction of red tape has been a particular area of focus for the government in the last couple of years, and the state approaches increasingly, slowly, steadily, refocusing towards the partnership principle rather than monitoring and controlling environment. The EU Structural Funds Recovery and Resilience Facility, as well as national innovation programs, are in place. They support key innovation policy instruments for R&D and digital transformation. In Latvian Investment and Development Agency, we have programs for digitalization, optimization, and development of high value-added products for companies across various sectors. We have Competence Center program, which plays a critical role in linking research institutions, industry, and in particular in deep tech and applied innovation domains. With the RIS3 smart specialization framework, we prioritize and focus on ICT, biomedicine, photonics, as well as smart materials and energy technologies. And we also have additional instruments such as innovation vouchers and technology transfer mechanisms that are aimed at ensuring research results and translate into commercially viable solutions. The objective of innovation policy, of course, is not only funding, but creation of ecosystem that enables exportable, scalable, and investment-ready solutions. And in this context, of course, Baltic regional cooperation is becoming not a strategic necessity, given the current global environment, and it's really a prerequisite for our global competitiveness. and investment attraction, talent attraction, and technology leadership. Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia increasingly operate as functionally integrated innovation and investment region, especially in the eyes of investors. These three countries are have similar structural challenges, but also highly complementary capabilities, in particular in digital and in industrial innovation. Joint external initiatives such as Baltic Spotlight 2027, as well as coordinated participation in Expo, strengthen the visibility and branding of the region, and cooperation in particular in defense and dual use, AI, data infrastructure, cybersecurity, and deep tech ecosystems form foundation for long-term cooperation. There is a significant potential in developing joint Baltic value propositions for investors in many global markets, particularly in defense tech, smart cities, and ICT. The key objective is to ensure that innovation translates into productivity growth, exports, and sustainable investment environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Šadris. Right now we can actually move to our panel part, so if you could take a seat, please, and let me introduce our other great panelists. The next panelist is Ahti Kuningas, who is a Secretary General of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications of Estonia. Welcome. Please take a seat. Sorry. Then we're inviting to the stage also Audrone Markevičiene, who is an ambassador of Republic of Lithuania to the Republic of Latvia, representing Lithuania's diplomatic and economic interests in Latvia since 2025. Welcome. Followed with Nina Vide-Chairperson, who is the director of the Nordic Council of Ministers' Office in Latvia, where she is leading regional cooperation initiatives between Nordic and Baltic countries. Welcome. And then finally, may I ask Edgars to join us in here, who is a senior economist at the Nordic Investment Bank. Welcome. Where he's responsible for the financing and evaluating large-scale projects in the Nordic and Baltic regions. So, great crowd. Welcome to you all. And we can probably slowly move to the panel part, where we could actually speak about the topics of interest today. So in the first part, we have been speaking about what the FICIL, what other organizations has identified, so to say, how the sentiment of innovation and investment looks like. But right now it would be very good to focus a little bit on actions, what has worked, when we are looking from different points, and maybe what hasn't. So let me start with a question to our Baltic policymaker representatives. Each Baltic state has developed its own approach, be it to investment and to attracting investment into the region. But from your perspective, which one policy or one reform or one instrument actually has moved the needle the most? And if to start maybe, if I could ask Audrone, what about you?
Hello, everyone. So it's not only honor, but also a big responsibility to be here on this panel today, because, of course, I am not such an expert, so being among the experts, but I try to do my best. And yes, coming back to your question, Martina, so while much of today's discussions focuses a lot on emerging technologies, in our view, the real foundation for innovation, productivity, and competitiveness is data. One of the most tangible reforms in Lithuania was the transformation of the national data ecosystem. In a relatively short period, Lithuania moved from a fragmented and low maturity environment to one of the leading open data systems in Europe. This was important because public sector data stopped being treated only as an administrative product, but also started being treated as reusable economic infrastructure. The impact is measurable. Actually, according to the recent estimates, the market created in open data in Lithuania reached around 566 million euros in 2024, or approximately 1.2% of GDP, and supporting around 8,000 value-added jobs. Latest projections also estimates that it could grow to 1.76% of GDP by the end of this year. And Lithuania's international performance also improved significantly. Lithuania entered the European trendsetter group in open data maturity, and even rose to the second place in Europe in the latest assessment. What made this successful was not a single platform or regulation, but it was a combination of few elements like political ownership, a central open data portal, clear obligations to open high-value data sets, and investment into the state data lake infrastructure. The state data lake is a secure infrastructure where data from different public systems can be connected and refused. This has also practical value for public services, for policymakers, for crisis management, research, and of course, business development.
Okay, so data. So Lithuania is speaking about data. Okay, I think in all of the Baltics, we're kind of proud to be a little bit more leaning digital than the other European countries. What about Estonia?
Question was that what has affected FDI, yes?
Let's say, what, in your opinion, has moved the needle the most for Estonia in terms of FDI, first of all?
Yeah, to be honest, this is a quarter century old. I think our tax system that you pay zero taxes on reinvested profits. This has affected the most. Second, I would bring in IT education in the 90s and emergence of different IT companies which sold themselves globally, and they created venture capital companies which created more startups. So we have ended with some, I think, 10 unicorns today, which is quite good number, better than in Japan and Switzerland, in absolute numbers, not percentages. And third thing which is connected to that is digitalization, whatever, data, but also how you communicate with government, how to be fast and efficient. And in addition to that, not again very new service, but this e-residence service that we have, you can be global enterprise or citizen, but you can operate in Estonia, not to being present. And it's accelerating now, we see. There have been this kind of introductory years, but it's hyperbolic. So we are very interested on this EU Inc. Act, but if it's cut too small, then we see that we have already EU Inc. in Estonia, so everybody is welcome to participate on that.
All right, great, thank you for that. So let's say we have heard Estonia and Lithuania. Mr. Šadris, what about Latvia?
Well, if I have to name one thing, I think that the fact that over the last couple of years we have redirected really vast share, a large share of our investment portfolio towards the defense industry, approximately 270 million euros towards basically establishing and helping to create defense industry here has been probably to my mind, the single most sort of enabling factor also for the developments in the innovation sphere, meaning that since we finance all kinds of instruments and policies, starting from early business incubation, also innovation grants, innovation loans, new dual-use products. I think that this clear sense of purpose and direction towards defense and dual-use products has also given the opportunity for the ecosystem to really center around that to a large extent.
But when you are speaking defense, are you referring rather to the current times or also what has been the part of the success up until now?
Up until now, I think that similarly, the focus on digital services and also digitalization has been a huge element. I think that in our case, what we have seen in previous years, that I think that for a long period have a relatively well-established governmental digital platforms, and we are relatively strong on the government side, but we have been lagging on the business and also partially in business and cooperation with business and academia and research, and this is the reason why we from the RRF, from the Recovery and Resilience Facility, we took a really focused attempt to have meaningful, impactful instruments there in the sector, and we have seen that they have been also largely successful in really lifting and shifting the needle for many businesses, and also in terms of their productivity gains, exports, but also for their capacities to improve the links with the research, and academia.
All right, thank you for that. So in the morning, in the research findings presented, we have seen the insights, from about the investment climate, innovation ecosystem, and innovation-driven investment opportunities. And here I would like to ask actually our panelists from the broader approach, if I may say so. And here I'm speaking about Nina, about you and Edgars. If you were advising the Baltic governments, be it all together or one by one, from the investor perspective, where do you see the largest innovation-driven opportunities in the Baltics, and why? Nina, shall we start with you?
Yes, thank you very much. I would also like to thank for this invitation. The Nordic Council of Ministers have been in Latvia for 35 years, and in our sister countries as well. So we have a long-standing tradition being here. And to answer your question, I think where I would focus my energy, if I should choose as an investor here, it would be at the moment a lot on scaling up on the secure energy supply and the technologies around energy across the Baltics in close cooperation with the northern countries around. That is not only the Nordic countries, but also our colleagues and friends in Poland and in Germany. And beyond this, we have talked a lot today about education and the need for having a strong, skilled labor force, and also to have a mindset that drives innovation. So for me, I would also focus on promoting the very high-skilled labor force here, and to start working with the 3 Baltic countries even more on the re-educational activities that can be done together, and also innovation as such. Highly potential for the 3 Baltic states.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, hi, good morning. Me as an economist working in the Nordics, and I'm representing the Nordic Investment Bank, and we're owned by the 8 member countries, so the 3 Baltic countries and 5 Nordic countries. So I have a slightly different perspective on this topic, and it's interesting. Like for instance, Nordic Investment Bank is located in Helsinki, so my everyday life is in Helsinki, in Finland. And nowadays, Finland tops, or is at least in top 3 in most of imaginable indexes. And you know, me as an economist, I have been always saying for the last 20 years that you need to have the foundation blocks in place. You have to have the human capital, you have to have the institutions in place, the taxation policy should be right, the government should be okay, and kind of all the classical economic kind of theory things. And Finland is excelling in that. Finland is now one of the biggest R&D spenders globally. It is on the innovation scoreboard multiple years among the best countries. It is educationally, it's a top performer on digitalization journey, top performer. So basically every single index you can think of, it's there. Similarly to Sweden and Denmark. And at the same time, Finnish economy currently has the highest unemployment in the EU. It's the only country where the real estate prices that are dropping, the cyclical position is bad, the excessive deficit procedure is in place, the public finances are basically in a very bad state. What I'm trying to say, we have always assumed that there is a very, very strong link between innovations, R&D, and productivity growth economy. We might want to rethink how that link operates in the real world. And I mean, I can agree to what Nina said. Definitely, energy, it's one of the most horizontal things there are. That's a thing to think of. But then it's the human capital. I mean, without human capital, you will not go anywhere. We saw basically on all 3 surveys this morning, human capital in one form or different form was there. And I think maybe one thing which was slightly less visible today is that human capital is 2 things. You need highly educated, but you also need a healthy human capital. And unfortunately, the 3 Baltic countries in the rankings of healthy lifespan of their population are typically quite low on EU perspective. So that's also a cornerstone thing that we need to think of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a very interesting angle actually. But as you have mentioned also the Finland, and I think that slowly we're moving to the part where we're looking at country by country. But actually today a part of our topic also on the panel is about the pan-Baltic cooperation right over here. And earlier in the day in the FICIL sentiment index slides we have also seen various data showing the benefits of the stronger Baltics, of the stronger region. And also in the first panel we have heard a little bit that the investment agencies are starting to do something together, at least speaking already about that. But still, let's say, once we start to speak, and I see this probably in various contexts, it's still very much about how do we compete, especially in the Baltics, the 3 smaller countries who are willing to be better than one another. Looking from the policymaker perspective maybe, what are the main barriers, do you believe, today for this cooperation that could actually help us out, which is proven from all of the angles, but we're just not yet there?
Yes, the main message we got today from the index that the Baltics hold great potential, but still there is lack of sufficient scale and coordination. What aligns across the researchers from the 3 countries is quite clear. All 3 perspectives point to the need to treat the Baltics less as a separate national markets and more as one regional innovative space. Lithuania stresses science projects, joint R&D, shared infrastructure, and deep tech commercialization. Latvia underlines the investor view, less competition between Baltic states, fewer cross-border barriers, and a clear common market narrative. Estonia focuses on practical implementation, shared labs, test beds, regulatory sandboxes, procurement, and mobility schemes. For Lithuania, the lesson is not to enhance, to change this direction, but to connect our instruments better. We are already working on data infrastructure, computing capacity, regulatory support, and innovation funding. The next step is to make these tools work as one pathway for companies, from access to data, to development, testing, regulatory guidance, and deployment. That is also where Baltic cooperation should become more focused, not just to declare, but do it in practice. For example, aligned sandboxes, shared test beds, joint R&D programs, and coordinated support for companies scaling across the region and into Europe.
Maybe moving to Mr. Kuningas, also thinking about that, but the main probably question is how can we remove those the obstacles that also Lithuania is speaking about? How to, let's say, the direction is kind of clear, but the obstacles are still there, and it is very important to understand how to remove those, and not in 20 years, but probably quite fast. So I don't know. Please elaborate on that, Mr. Kuningas.
Obstacles in cooperation.
Yes.
Okay. First, competition is also good, because we now are attacked by journalists every day that Lithuania is better there and Lithuania is better there. So we have to get ourselves fit. So competition is very good. Cooperation. I'm tired about that, that we tend to talk to foreign investors that we are small countries. So that's why cooperation is good. And in next 2 weeks, there's Nordic-Baltic Prime Ministers meeting in Tallinn. And in last years, it's very popular to talk about two-speed Europe. Northern Europe, Southern Europe. So we are lucky to be in this faster speed Europe. And actually, we should talk about this Nordic-Baltic region as a whole in cooperation. Because in GDP-wise, it's bigger than Russia, even though Russia has 5 times more people than in this region. It's 9th in the world in GDP-wise. So it is the place to be, actually. If you look at only Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they are too small. There's no scale. But if you look at one region, it makes sense. What to do together? What are our proposals in the next 2 weeks? First, it doesn't make sense that our governmental IT is not connected in this region. Taxes, banks, and labor issues, they should go all over this region as smoothly as inside in different countries. So far, we still have to change papers, which is nonsense. If we want to be one region, we can still compete with each other, but the system has to work governmentally as one.
May I ask, do you have a vision how to achieve that? Because the vision sounds, I think, as majority of investors would tell you, this is the direction we want the region to look into. But
yeah, that's why I didn't say that the real-time economy as a whole, and we should all use Estonian X road, what is partly used in Finland and also in Iceland. But we should come together with one system that actually everybody is happy with. And that's why I didn't say that all the aspects of real-time economy. But let's start small. Let's start with the most affected aspects, like banking, taxes, and then all kind of labor registration issues. Let's, in 2 weeks, if the Prime Minister say that yes, we give this task to officials, and then it's political decision. I don't know if it happens, but then we can work on it.
okay. Thank you. Mr. Šadris?
Well, I also agree that this friendly competition that we've been that has been running since basically our countries exist, it's overall it's good, and not only drives us forward, but it also basically slowly is also leading to a certain extent of harmonization among various domains. Because I think that it would be, for me, pretty unrealistic to expect that the three Latvian governments could come together and agree, let's harmonize taxes. That probably doesn't happen like that. But through this, friendly competition, when we sort of look over the shoulder in the notes of the other guy and try to compare how basically what works and what doesn't in other countries. And then try to introduce these incentives in our own countries, that leads to a certain extent of harmonization as well. Because it would be pretty hard for a Latvian politician to come and admit, yes, I copied this piece of legislation from the neighbors, let's adopt it. He always needs to come and say, yes, I saw it, and this is how I will make it better. So I think in that extent it helps, but it also brings us closer together. I also agree that of course there are many domains like ICT and others where common solutions make sense. I think that geopolitical conditions are very good for really pushing us in many sectors and domains to come together and find common solutions through the spectrum of defense. I think it can work in many aspects. But also I think that from my personal experience, I think that in those policy domains where we have long established and institutionally already embedded ways to cooperate among policymakers, things tend to happen better. Because in other domains, it largely sort of relies on individual interpersonal relations where they exist, when they are well established. Then there's quite a good level of cooperation, but once basically the people in key positions leave, then it can fall apart pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, embedded interinstitutional cooperation at all levels, agency level, ministry level, it's important.
Okay, thank you. I liked kind of the angle that our colleague from Estonia has mentioned about the broader region, not only being the Baltics, but the Nordics as well. And starting to look into the figures, actually this is a sizable region, let's be honest. So looking into the Baltic and Nordic cooperation, let's say if we are going to look into that, how does that look from the Nordic perspective? Are we there yet? How far is there to go? Are we moving towards that direction? Or we are still, each and every of us, playing in our little ponds? Maybe, Mr. Kasyanovs, you could share your opinion first of all.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I would say, yeah, I would agree to what has been said here before on the friendly competition between the three Baltic countries. But the reality is that outside of the Baltic countries, most of the corporates would look at us at a single market, even despite the fact that there is a fragmentation in the market between the three countries. There are slightly different taxation policies, there are slightly different energy policies, obviously different national policies. But I think we need to step even beyond that. Unified Baltic region is nice, but realistically, we as a region, we don't have the capacity, meaning the Baltics, we don't have the capacity to compete with big agglomerations like, I don't know, Brussels, London, Paris. The only way to get there is to cooperate in a broader sense with the Nordic region. And on the question, if we're getting there, I would say it depends on the topics. In some of the topics, there is a broader cooperation, and actually, well, a silver lining in the existing geopolitical situation. The defense/resiliency topics currently are bringing the region much closer together. We're suddenly opening the bridges that have been partially closed before, and there is more and more cooperation. I think Patria is an excellent example. The cooperation between Latvia and Finland, and pushing in more and more countries into that cooperation. And this is a clear opportunity currently.
Do you see that countries are using that? Because clearly this has been a catalyst, and this is actually the moment to do that. Are we using that in a broader sense than just defense?
I would say on a policy level, not so much. On the corporate level, meaning the companies coming together and finding solutions, yes. So maybe on the public side, there would be a need of more of that.
Okay. All right. What is your view, Ms. Edvaldsen?
Yes, we had a reference to the NB8 upcoming ministerial, and this is clear there is a will to put out and send out a political message about further collaboration, because we have a long-standing tradition in doing so. So my take on it is actually in the Nordic countries, we have worked for this integration for many, many years, and we're still not entirely there. So therefore, for example, mobility of workers, mobility and adaptation of certificates, educations, tax systems, etc., it still hasn't happened 100% in the Nordic region. Therefore, I might not believe this is necessarily the way forward in the Baltics. I think I would rather look at the human capital, the changes coming out of what is being driven by people who create partnerships across borders. And here we're back to what you said before, namely that it's a matter of how quickly we can establish these partnerships and create flexibility in the regulations and the parameters, so that there is an unlimited way of working towards getting innovation done and to upscale it, because we also heard this morning it's not really about the innovation, it's rather about getting the upscaling and get the universities attracted to the benefits of working with companies and with governments and creating what is needed in the society. So coming back to what we are trying to do in some of the Nordic countries right now is, for example, creating Nordic sandboxes where we can develop these kind of more free-rolling systems across borders. We just have a new initiative, just as an example, which is a so-called Nordic Compass that is developed through the Nordic Council of Ministers with the 15 highest-ranking CEOs among companies working with regulators and research institutions of tackling 2 or 3 very important issues. It could be energy, it could be on defense, and so it's chosen deliberately. And hereby, all the traditional regulatory restrictions are waived for a period of time to see how to deal with that. So it's just an example. And similar could be done here, but it depends how much trust is in the society with the partners you have. So then we are back to one of my basic thoughts about how you actually, your biggest impact will be to move your educational system from the basic level, the first classes, the first school years, and that takes a long time. And then to get this trustworthiness and be able to recognize that failures are the way forward to make new innovations and to ask for partners, because if they see you fail, they can fail too, and only by that you grow. And I think here the Baltics have a great potentials, but are not really there yet.
All right, thank you. Thank you, that's a good approach. We are slowly getting to an end to our long-awaited another coffee break. I know that how much we value the networking in between, but prior to that, I would still like probably to come back to the panel and to ask each and every one of you, our Baltic stakeholders, I would like to imagine that you, naturally today, you can influence where the country is going with your advice, with what you see. let's play a game that you can change that, right? And whatever the position of a country is, but let's imagine you have the power, and you have 12 months to use that power to bring that capital through the innovation into the country, be it through collaboration in the Baltics, in the Nordics, or separately. What would that, I don't know, one thing, two things, or a set of main things would be that you would leave a mark so that we leave this region and your country stronger? Mr. Šadris, shall we start with you?
If I could change that, I think that a running rail line from Helsinki to Warsaw, that would be on top of my list. It would take more than 12 months, I believe, but I mean, if I could imagine. But realistically, I think that access to finance and lack of that for innovators, for scale-ups, for deep tech is one aspect where I think that a lot can be impacted on a regional level. And so if we could arrive in 12 months and establish, for example, a joint pension fund in the Nordics devoted to financing innovative products, that would be probably the most impactful change in my view.
All right, an ambitious one. Thank you. Mr. Kuningas, what about you?
First, I have to say that we have done a lot in last years. We are not sleeping. And actually, our R&D is now 2%, which is finally picking up. We have done 15 years of work on that. And that's a good figure. Capital markets, now we have in place also TRL 1 to 9, I think, all the aspects. And third thing, what's existing or ongoing is reducing bureaucracy. We are actually doing it right now because we are cutting the budget at the same time as well. So we have to cut the services as well. Only my ministry has made 200 changes in last year to the different laws. But one thing what to do for the future, if I have 12 months, and it is connected to education, is vocational reform, vocational education. I think there has to be renaissance. Today nobody has talked about AI, but actually if you look at AI, then these people who end high schools now, they have this kind of general knowledge, and AI is already better than that. Most of these people don't go to even universities. So in the future, it's rough to say, but they are kind of useless. That's why this unemployment amongst youngsters is right now raising quite sharp all over the world. Now to vocational education. Not this one, what we have today, 3 years, not so much math and physics, but let's raise it to 4 years. You give the same kind of education like in college, but at the same time, you concentrate either to electricity or logistics. You have one knowledge, but also broad knowledge. Then you can decide, and those people are actually taken to the job market already on the second year. Not like from high school, nobody's taking them. You can choose if you go to work, or with this 4-year education, you can still have an insurance and go to university and follow on that. So more practical education reform. That's what we need, and that's in 12 months I would do vocational education reform.
Okay, great. Thank you. Very practical. Ms. Markevičiene.
Yeah, I agree very much with Edgars regarding the connectivity and also the Rail Baltica, and of course great and connections between us will make our cooperation and coordination easier, people to people as well. So, of course, the main problem is our fragmentation. We should overcome this somehow, and so how to find the balance between the national visibility and regional coordination. So the main message that Baltics should not be viewed only as 3 separate small markets, and also together with the Nordic partners, the region represents highly capable digital and innovation ecosystem with strong talent and fast institutions and deep integration into the European market. And for policymakers, the priority should be usability and scale. They should focus on making easier to companies to access data, test solutions, work across the borders also, engage with public institutions, and this way scale within the region.
Okay, Ms. Anna Volsen.
So you said one thing within 12 months?
Yes, that would
for me,
be best.
that would be to make sure that we contribute to create a Nordic-Baltic sandbox environment with companies, with investors, also the pension funds from the Nordic countries, and other stakeholders, the government, the municipalities that are involved, on creating reliable and energy supply to the 3 Baltic countries and the Nordics in combination. And I have a discussion on that. Because that would be able to finalize through all our research institutions in the Nordics. We have many of those, NorPlus, Norregio, Nordic Innovation, mobility programs. We can all put them in place in such a sandbox as well, and capital with that. So that would be the desire, but the overall desire would also be starting to work with our young people within these 12 months and respect them and do much more in supporting them. Yes, they are AI-driven, but they can many other things that we can't do, and I think we should use that as the future capital. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And the last comment from Mr. Kasianos.
Many good things have been told already. I have maybe two reflections here quickly. One is something very different from what mentioned here. It's the capital market integration between the Nordic and Baltic countries. There are surprisingly many barriers still between the countries for the free capital flow. And if institutional capital, that's one story, maybe that's maybe less of a problem than for retail investors to invest into other country projects. It's basically almost impossible nowadays. So if you are, I don't know, a Finnish or a Swedish household and you want to invest into fast-growing region of the Baltic economies,